2 to 4 feet of snow. Not over the entire winter. Over the next 72 hours. And if you're watching from Syracuse, you're thinking, yeah, that's Tuesday. Let me address something right up front because someone commented on this. 11 inches is a normal snow day in Syracuse. You're absolutely right. Syracuse has seen worse, way worse. 43 inches in 1966. Massive storms in 1993 and 2017. So when I tell Syracuse residents that you're getting another foot, you're not panicking. You're just annoyed. Because this is your life. This is winter in upstate New York. But here's what's different this time. It's not one storm, it's a series of storms. Days and days of lake effect snow. And that cumulative effect, that's what breaks people. The first storm, you handle it. The second storm, you manage it. The third storm, you're exhausted. And we're looking at this pattern persisting through the entire week, and possibly into next week. I want to ask you to do something right now that's going to help me create better, more specific information for you. If you could take just a moment to comment your city and state down below, I'm going to use that information to create custom forecasts for the top 100 most commented locations. So your city could be featured if you take a second to let me know where you are. Just city and state, that's all I need. Here's what's actually happening, and I'm going to explain this in a way that makes sense whether you're in Syracuse and you've seen this 100 times, or you're in Kentucky looking at snow for the first time this year. Lake effect snow is happening right now across multiple Great Lakes simultaneously. Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. All 5 lakes are producing snow. And here's what makes this event particularly significant. We're getting what meteorologists call double fetch. Let me explain what that means. Fetch is the distance that cold air travels over open water. The longer the fetch, the more moisture the air picks up. Double fetch means air is traveling over one lake, picking up moisture, then traveling over a second lake, picking up even more moisture, and then dumping all of that as snow on the downwind shore. Right now, we're seeing double fetch from Lake Huron over to Lake Erie, and then on to Lake Ontario. We're also seeing it from Lake Superior over into northern Michigan. That's why some locations are getting absolutely crushed while others just 50 miles away are seeing much lighter amounts. Syracuse, you're getting hammered because you're positioned perfectly on the southeast shore of Lake Ontario with maximum fetch. Watertown, same situation. The Tug Hill Plateau, which is just south of Watertown, this area could see 2 to 4 feet of snow by the end of the week. That's not a typo, 2 to 4 feet. Buffalo and areas south of Buffalo are in a similar situation off Lake Erie. Jamestown, New York is looking at significant accumulations. Erie, Pennsylvania, you're in the bullseye as well. Northern Michigan, specifically the Upper Peninsula, the eastern half of the UP is getting pounded with snow from Lake Superior. Marquette just broke both a daily snowfall record and a daily rainfall record within the same day. That's how volatile this pattern has been. And now they're dealing with even more snow. Now, let me address some specific comments I saw because you raised important points. Someone commented, "It's winter and it's snowing. Oh no." I get the sarcasm. For people who live in snow country, this is normal. But here's the thing. Even normal winter can be dangerous. Just because Syracuse gets this every year doesn't mean it's not worth warning people about. Complacency kills. Every winter, people die because they think I've driven in snow before. I'll be fine, until they're not fine. Another comment said, why are they suddenly trying to over-dramatize every time it snows in blue states? I'm in one state and wow, it's just being winter out there. Fair point. The media does sensationalize weather. Headlines like brutal blast of winter hammers can feel over the top when you're in Michigan and this is just Tuesday. But the reason for the warnings is simple. Visibility is 0 in the heaviest bands. Whiteout conditions. That's legitimately dangerous. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That's legitimately dangerous. 14-car pileup in Iowa that killed someone. That's why we warn people. Someone else commented about an important safety tip for snowstorms. They said, don't wear white. Try red as a newscaster. That's actually brilliant practical advice that could genuinely save lives. Visibility is absolutely everything when you're out in a snowstorm. If you need to be outside for any reason, you need to make sure other people can actually see you. That means wearing bright colors that stand out. It means wearing reflective clothing. especially if you're going to be out when it's dark. If you're wearing white or gray clothing in a snowstorm, you're essentially invisible to drivers and plow operators. So wear red, wear orange, wear yellow, wear anything that's going to create a strong contrast against all that white snow. Now, let me talk about the wind, because that's a huge part of this story. Wind gusts are reaching 40 to 50 miles per hour across the Northeast. In some locations, 70 miles per hour. That's hurricane-force wind. And when you combine that wind with heavy snow, you get two major problems. First, blowing snow. Even if snow isn't actively falling from the sky, existing snow gets picked up and blown around. This creates ground blizzards. Visibility drops to zero instantly. You can be driving along, road is clear, and suddenly you can't see anything. That's when pileups happen. Second, wind chill. The actual air temperature might be in the teens or 20s. But with 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, the wind chill drops into the single digits or below zero. At those wind chills, frostbite can occur on exposed skin in just minutes. Let me give you the specifics for different regions because this is not affecting everyone equally. Syracuse, New York. You're in this for the duration. Snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour in the heaviest bands. The plows cannot keep up with that rate. Roads will be covered. Visibility will be zero. Travel is not advised. If you absolutely must travel, make sure you have a full emergency kit in your car. Blankets, food, water, shovel, sand or kitty litter, flashlight, phone charger. If you get stuck, that kit saves your life. Watertown, New York. Same situation as Syracuse. The Tug Hill Plateau just south of you is going to see the heaviest snow. 2 to 4 feet possible by the end of the week. This is a multi-day event. It's not going to be over by tomorrow. This continues through Thursday, Friday, possibly into the weekend. Buffalo, New York, and surrounding areas. You're getting lake effect off Lake Erie. Significant accumulations expected. Areas south of Buffalo City proper are in the heaviest bands, 1 to 2 feet possible through the week. Erie, Pennsylvania. You're directly in the path of lake effect off Lake Erie, 18 to 30 inches possible through Thursday. That's substantial even by Erie standards. And you know what snow is like. This is not your first rodeo. Marquette, Michigan. You've already had a wild weather week. Now you're dealing with more lake effect off Lake Superior. Another 6 to 12 inches possible. The eastern Upper Peninsula is getting the brunt of it. Detroit area. You had that massive pileup on I-75 yesterday. Multiple vehicles involved. That's what happens when conditions deteriorate quickly. Eastern Michigan saw whiteout conditions that caused a semi-truck to crash off an overpass and burst into flames. This is serious stuff. Even if you're experienced driving in snow, these conditions are beyond normal. Now, for areas that are seeing lighter amounts or just flurries, let me explain what you're experiencing. Lake effect snow bands can extend surprisingly far from the lakes. We're seeing snow showers making it into central New York, getting close to the Catskills. Some bands are even making it into northern New Jersey. It won't be heavy there, but you might see snow squalls. These are intense but brief bursts of heavy snow with near-zero visibility. They can cause accidents very quickly. Western Massachusetts, portions of Vermont and New Hampshire, you're getting some flurries and light snow from the outer edges of these bands. Higher elevations will see more. It's not a major snow event for you, but enough to make roads slick. Ohio and Pennsylvania, away from the immediate lake shore, you're getting bands that extend inland. Portions of Kentucky, West Virginia, are seeing elevation-based snow. It's light, but it's there. Don't get caught off guard. Michigan, away from the lake shore, you're still getting some snow and very strong winds. I-75 is particularly dangerous because the wind creates a crosswind for vehicles. High-profile vehicles like semi-trucks are at risk. The Mackinac Bridge is extremely dangerous in high winds. If you're crossing it, be prepared for strong crosswinds. Now let me talk about what's driving this pattern and why it's persisting for so long. We have a blocking pattern set up in the atmosphere. High pressure is positioned in a way that's blocking weather systems from moving through. Low pressure is spinning over Canada, and it's stuck there. That low pressure is pulling cold air down from the Arctic and funneling it across the Great Lakes. As long as that blocking pattern persists, the lake effect continues. And this blocking pattern is forecast to last through the entire week, possibly into early next week. That means lake effect snow continues day after day. That's why we're talking about such high accumulation totals. It's not from one big storm. It's from continuous lake effect for multiple days. The temperatures are brutally cold. Not just the air temperature, but especially the wind chill. When you factor in the wind, large portions of the Midwest and Great Lakes are feeling like 0 degrees or colder. Some locations are feeling like -10 to -20. That's dangerous cold where frostbite happens in minutes. Someone commented from Fort Drum, Watertown area. They said they served there in the early 90s and swore they'd retire to a warm state. Now they live in Florida. I completely understand that decision. Watertown winters are no joke. If you've experienced them, you know. And if you escape to Florida, good for you. Although based on other comments, even Florida is getting cold right now. Someone from Gainesville said they went from 80 degrees to 40 degrees in 12 hours. That's Florida winter for you. Another comment that resonated with a lot of people. When roads are bad, truckers should be given deadline leeway, and people should be able to stay home from work without penalty. It's not worth somebody's life. This is absolutely true. The pressure to show up to work or meet deadlines during dangerous weather conditions kills people every year. Employers need to be reasonable. If travel is dangerous, let people stay home. Deadlines can be adjusted. Lives cannot be replaced. And for truckers, specifically, you're out there trying to keep supply chains moving. You're the reason grocery stores have food. You're the reason stores have products. But you're also driving in the worst conditions. If you're a trucker reading this, please prioritize your safety. No load is worth your life. If conditions are too dangerous, park it. Wait it out. The load can be late. Someone mentioned Denver Christmas Eve 1983. 3 feet of snow in 12 hours. Closed every road in the state. That was a historic storm. And it's a good reminder that these kinds of events do happen. They're rare, but they happen. And when they do, you prepare, you stay safe, and you wait it out. Now, the pattern beyond this week, because this lake effect event is just the beginning of what looks like a very active January. We have a major pattern shift coming. Right now, we have high pressure along the west coast bringing warm temperatures. California, Nevada, Arizona, you're well above average. But that high pressure is going to break down. The jet stream is going to dip significantly along the west coast. When that happens, Pacific storms are going to start moving across the Rockies and into the central United States. What does that mean? It means storm after storm for the central and eastern United States through January. Some of these storms will bring snow, some will bring ice, some will bring severe weather, including tornadoes. The pattern is setting up for an extremely active month. For areas that haven't seen much winter yet, Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, your time is coming. When the jet stream dips and storms start tracking out of the Rockies through the southern plains, you're going to get in on the action. Snow is possible for areas that don't normally see it. Ice storms are possible. Severe weather is possible. This is what meteorologists call a meridional jet stream pattern. When the jet stream buckles like this, it creates these big troughs and big ridges. The troughs bring cold air and storms down from the north. The ridges bring warmth and dry conditions up from the south. And as these troughs and ridges move across the country over time, the weather becomes really volatile. You get big temperature swings. You get extremes. You get active, changing conditions almost constantly. Someone asked about geoengineering and weather manipulation. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories. What I can tell you is that the meteorology we're seeing is completely consistent with natural atmospheric patterns. Blocking patterns happen. Lake effect snow happens. Meridional jet stream patterns happen. We don't need to invoke anything beyond established atmospheric science to explain what we're observing. Now, safety tips because this is critical. If you're in the heavy lake effect zones, do not travel unless absolutely necessary. Visibility is 0 in the heaviest bands. You cannot drive safely if you cannot see. If you absolutely must travel, make sure someone knows your route and expected arrival time. Check in when you arrive. Have an emergency kit in your car. If you get stuck or stranded, stay with your vehicle. You can run the engine for heat, but make sure your exhaust pipe is not blocked by snow. Carbon monoxide can back up into the car and kill you. Run the engine for 10 minutes every hour. Keep a window cracked slightly for ventilation. Make sure you're dressing in multiple layers when you go outside. You want a base layer made of synthetic material or wool, definitely not cotton because cotton holds moisture. Then you want a mid-layer for insulation to trap body heat. And finally, you need an outer layer that protects you from wind and moisture. Make absolutely sure you're covering your head, your hands, and your face. In these kinds of wind chills, you cannot have any exposed skin at all, because frostbite can happen frighteningly fast. If you're shoveling snow, pace yourself. Shoveling is intense cardiovascular work. Take frequent breaks. Stay hydrated. If you have any heart risk factors, don't shovel at all. Hire someone or use a snowblower. Check on your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors. They're the most vulnerable in extreme weather. A 5-minute wellness check could save a life. Make sure your home is prepared. If you lose power, how will you stay warm? If you have a fireplace, make sure you have wood. If you have a generator, make sure it's working and you have fuel. Never run a generator indoors or in an attached garage. Carbon monoxide kills. Make sure you stock up on essential supplies if you haven't already. You need food, water, any medications you take regularly, and batteries for flashlights or radios. You should really have at least 3 days' worth of supplies on hand in case you end up snowed in and can't get out to the store. For air travelers, expect delays. 50 million people are affected by this weather system. Airports across the Northeast are seeing significant delays. More than 10,000 flights were delayed Monday. Expect the same today and possibly tomorrow. If you're flying, build in extra time. Be patient. The delays are for safety. Spiritual perspective. Because in times like this, it matters. Someone commented, "All glory does go to God, our Father in heaven." Amen to that. We don't control the weather. We don't control when storms come. What we control is how we respond. Do we help our neighbors? Do we show kindness? Do we trust God's provision while doing our part to prepare? 1 Peter 5:8 says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil as a roaring lion walketh about seeking whom he may devour." In the context of winter storms, being sober and vigilant means being prepared, being aware of dangers, and not being complacent just because you've seen snow before. But the passage continues, "The God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you." Winter is temporary. Storms are temporary. Spring always comes. This too shall pass. Now, before I wrap up, I want to ask you to do something that could really help not just you, but your entire community. If you could take just a moment to scroll down and leave a comment with your city and state, I'm going to use those comments to create custom forecasts for the 100 locations that get mentioned the most. So, your voice genuinely matters here in helping me understand where people need the most specific information. And if you found this forecast helpful today, I'd really appreciate it if you could click that like button. I know it seems like a small thing, but here's why it actually matters. The way YouTube's system works, when more people like a video, it gets shown to more people in that same geographic area. So your one click on that thumbs up button could literally help warn your neighbors who might not be paying close attention to what's coming. You could be the reason someone else gets prepared in time. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, I really hope you'll consider doing that, because this weather pattern is changing and evolving every single day. I'm going to be here posting updates regularly to keep you informed as conditions change. You definitely don't want to miss important information when things shift, and subscribing is the best way to make sure these forecasts show up for you. One more thing that really helps is turning on your notifications. There's a little bell icon next to the subscribe button. When you click that, you'll get notified immediately whenever I post an update, which means if conditions suddenly worsen or if there's an emergency alert that needs to go out, you'll know about it right away. In weather like this, that immediate notification could genuinely make a difference in keeping you safe. And finally, I'd really encourage you to share this forecast with people in your life who might need it. Maybe you have an elderly relative who doesn't follow weather news very closely. Maybe you have a friend or coworker who has a long commute and needs to know what roads are going to be like. Maybe you just know someone who tends not to pay much attention until it's too late. Sending them a link to this video could be really helpful for them. The information I'm sharing here only saves lives if people actually see it. So let me wrap this up by giving you the bottom line of what you need to know going forward. The lake effect snow is going to continue throughout this entire week. In the heaviest snow bands, we're looking at 2 to 4 feet of total accumulation. The cold is going to be brutal, and those wind chills are going to make it genuinely dangerous to be outside for any length of time. Travel is going to be extremely hazardous, in some cases truly impossible. If you can possibly stay home, that's absolutely the smartest choice you can make right now. There's a major pattern shift coming next week that's going to bring multiple storm systems through January. Depending on where you are and how each individual storm tracks, we could be looking at more snow, we could see ice storms, or in some areas there could even be severe weather with thunderstorms and possibly tornadoes. Syracuse, I know you're tough. I know you've been through worse storms than this, but I need you to promise me you won't let that familiarity breed complacency. Yes, you know how to handle snow, but this is still genuinely dangerous weather, and I need you to take it seriously. For everyone else who's in the path of this storm system, I really need you to take this seriously too. Even if you've got years and years of experience driving in snow, even if you've lived through winter storms your entire life, these particular conditions are extreme. This is beyond what you typically deal with. So here's what I need you to do. Get prepared right now if you haven't already. Check on your neighbors, especially the elderly ones who might need help. Stay informed by keeping up with forecast updates as they come out. And most importantly, stay safe out there. Don't take unnecessary risks. Winter is hard, there's no doubt about that. But I know you're harder than winter is. You're going to get through this. God bless you and yours. Please stay warm, please stay safe, and I'll see you in the next update.